Ellen Watson is the author of 5 full-length collections of poems. Most recently, Pray Me, Stay Eager, from Alice James Books. Watson's journal appearances include APR, Tin House, Orion, Field, Ploughshares, and the New Yorker. Among her honors are the Rona Jaffe Writers Award, fellowships to the MacDowell and to Yaddo, and a National Endowment for the Arts Translation Fellowship. She has translated 9 volumes from Brazilian Portuguese, most notably the poetry of Adélia Prado. Watson serves as poetry and translation editor of the Massachusetts Review and core faculty at Drew University's Low-Residency Master of Fine Arts in Poetry and Translation.
She voted for me. She helped me get hired. Yes, that was unanimous. So thank you, everyone at Malvern, and I hadn't met Joe. Thank you for what you did, what you made. This is amazing. I've never been to a bookstore like this anywhere. It's fantastic. I wish I lived here. So thank you for having me, for hosting us. Thank you for making this happen. Thank Kurt for here. This is great. I'm happy to be here. And Barbara Rass, my oldest poet friend, helped get me invited to Trinity, which is how I got to come here. So thank you to everyone. And so I'm going to read just from this new book. It's still pretty new. And read poems and not talk too much. This is called The Animal with Irony. I agreed to hold the snake just long enough for my brother to wrestle the cage door open. The cat who retracted her claws to tap my cheek was the one who brought to the back stoop the most carnage. Star-nosed mole, cartoon chipmunk, pumping-chested finch. I confess to an alligator purse, my kid fingers pressing and yanking the ridged forehead to snap and unsnap the snapper. In Brazil, a grizzly still life under flat sun, 1 8-inch severed turtle leg, 1 trembling flour sack tied tight, and José, scared and purple with rage, bellowing at 5 ragtag boys, bloody knives in their fists, and hungry. When an elephant hurls her dung, it's time to handcuff the keeper. Whatever our human cruelty, the existence of silverfish says hell is not clean and alive like fire. Bless the horse, ducking her head into the bridle. Bless her neighborly whinny as I crest the drive. Though it has cost me 5 cats and many chickens, I live rural to be near wild. Chuff of bear, coyote's nightly tune-ups thrill, swooningly jagged. Perverse reassurance I'm glad for. The hawk's Thanksgiving arc swoop, his talons cursive written on our tiniest poet, spoke a savage grace. Infants scream a fissure, knock, rattle in the night basement. These jitter me alert, alarmed, which I take as gift, since fear conquered equals pride. But is anything more suspect, less animal? We name and eat and love and loathe them. On account of flowers, I no longer allow groundhogs their cuteness, vote instead for Chuck's gun. How tenderly I jar crickets and bumblebees, deliver them to their outside lives, yet whack moths, snip wasps with gusto, trap mice, lay poison for ants, flush ladybugs down the toilet. Having once ordered thousands to sprinkle about the garden, now I celebrate as their masses dwindle and disappear from ceilings and screens, returning me my kindness. This next one, the title is The Night Doesn't Summarize the Day, and it's stolen from a line from Dignan. The night doesn't summarize the day. The day doesn't even speak to the night, because that would be like recognizing Palestine. Small doses of darkness are permissible. Light pretends to own nothing or everything. Everything is a trap. Against the night, people pitch tents. Inside the tents, we make of our skin lanterns. Look how skin and lanterns in proximity evoke lampshades made of skin unspeakable, and how this spawns settlements and unpeaceable. How certainty solidifies the we, but scours a body out. Joining a we that means to be impermeable, we think only leaks and locks. Waterboarded only in our sleep, we wake to find our armature a hulking, tilty thing squatting on the dirt, casting a loudest shadow over something green and fixing to feel the light. This book is, it has a series of field guides, but to abstractions, sort of rebellious streak that I got into. We're told not to use abstractions in our writing, but we need abstractions. So there are a bunch of those, and maybe I'll read one of them. Field guide to abstractions. How to distinguish faith from faithfulness, from loyalty, from blindness, or see the hate in envy. Do you detect a difference between male and female generosity? Field guides are by nature particularly pedant. Practice makes, etc. But we can't draw awe, so the usual maps and illustrations are out. No topography of misery, no field marks of upper and lower sorrow, no tricolor range of habitat, nothing newsy like the cow killer, aka velvet ant, dwells in woodland edges and is really a wasp. So we commandeer birders' categories. Aerialists, risk. Long-legged waiters, adventure and hope. Raptors, opportunism. Smaller waders, helpfulness. Swimmers, curiosity and gossip. Note, while the inside cover of Birds of the Southeast bears a ruler, abstractions will prove difficult to measure. And then I wrote some odes to various abstractions. And this one's called Ode to Fear. When I say fear, I'm not talking humiliation anxiety. No, not even mortal fear. I mean the abyss. And it's not just the reaper I refuse, but his vestibule. That we're given no X on the calendar, no vaccine for the waiting. And not just what waits for me, or the clouded plaque prior, but for you, O daughter, delivered of my body. I know this isn't much of a praise song, but here we are, love, or will be. Behold the inviting expanse of biting white snow, ravishing too muchness, tainted by a stab of fear. So much death lies ahead. Can I say that? A long series of swallowings, and the studded club of a word, 2 syllables snaking on the wind, threatening blackout in my brain circuitry. Outlive. Last night you thanked me for teaching your child self not to suffer in advance. Fear, the great obliterator of now. Grace, the not letting it. So where's the 10-blade, clean and lethal, to slice out from live? Stay with me, I say to me. Try not to be gone, and not just not until you're gone, for every ever. Fuck fear. This ode is to the knife of wind, the blowing snow, the why I walk into the cold, quieted world, so vast and silent, I hear my heart beat and believe that you will lay me down. Can I say that? One day. Sort of continuing a little bit on the same theme. I'm going to read something called The Hungry Ghost. The Hungry Ghost is not the bakery on State Street of the same name, but the toothy fire the baker thinks he's tamed. At 13, a blast of lightning levitated me, then bolted me to my bed, until a fierce, rhythmic flickering behind the blinds drew me up to see the top half of Cindy's house roaring. In woods and alleys, kids strike matches, grab danger. Once I followed sirens to a big blaze, posed as a novelist, desperate to get it right. A guy ducked me under the tape, handed me a hard hat, let me close enough to sweat, small in the scalding light. Thinking love combustion, we forget smolder, go for conflagration. We get scorched, apply simple salve, drink too little water. Don't we all fall silent, enthralled before a wood stove or hearth or warming our hands under the overpass, knowing only stone and bone survive it? Fire, you made us who we are, cooks, night owls, large-braved dreamers. Because we can't take you into our bodies, we settle for smoke, inching ever faster toward the red-tipped end. But oh, my people, when it's time, please, give me to the fire. Let it eat me, immaculate and gone. I think I need to cheer up a little. Yeah, that's right, I'm gone, so I can do anything I want. March 31st and the frogs. March 31st and the frogs are going nutso down in that sinkhole pond. Sounds like a cauldron on high, happy boil. I'm not there yet, you're non-existent, my roommates are vices. All that I read, go back to it, all that I read confirms darkness. Who asked poems to be lugubrious chariots to the pitch? It's safe, though, living in paper rooms with words arriving, oh yes, like bullets expected, or like manatees, wonder underwater. Those actual frogs are nothing but out there, with their three-chambered non-human hearts, their skin cleaning the air we share. And they could care less whether I thank or curse them for their farty calls, speaking sex. Let's see. I think I'll read another quote. But I can't. Oh no, I'm going to read numbers. First, I have only one rule, face front. Secondly, I lied. Besides, 2 is well, right now, my least favorite number, though it has been pleasurable many times. 2 can be really fine, fractious, fractured, fini. Do platonics and occasionals count? We won't speak of their quality or numbers, which I have no desire to reconstruct, no desire, really, of that sort. Line number 2, what I just said. What I mean is I'm single, but I've never played so much music. Many gods is more confusing than one, but maybe that's for the best. The man talking about the discovery of 0 lost me. Well, to be fair, I was distracted in one of my favorite ways. You know, when qualitative and quantitative converge. Why does the photo of 3 horses in the field pierce me more deeply than the 1s and 2s? Power of 3, sheets to the wind, blind mice, BLTs, French horns, stooges, and the number of bones in the human ear. Still lifes. How many nouny things are required to create pungency? I seem to be avoiding big numbers. How many is too many? Choices, vices, ladybugs, heroes. Whatever money is, there are many grubby digits in it. Casualties, too many and counting, versus countless laughs if we're lucky. Infinite? Oh, pish-posh, let it go. I admit for a time I watched one life to live, and it's true. Finite, finito. Rule number 2, I have 3 life or death requirements. The first knows her name, the second is what I'm doing, and the third, leave me with at least 3 out of 5 senses. Admittedly, for X number of years, touch has let us say been subtle, and while a minimum of 5 sprigs of lilac equals intoxicating, perhaps not as utterly as the other 3. Fuck, I refuse to choose between the last ones. Is this universal? What about memory? How much would I trade for more now? Right now, one Browning leaf falls onto the piano, which remains silent. I admire them equally, doing what they must, and think to turn on the radio. Rule number 3, sideways has its merits. Will I disappoint my future if I stay? Asks breathy Sade. Me, I'd change the verb to go. For the nth time, yes. And one more thing. Whichever end of the spectrum, there's no number for how I feel. All I can think of is the assault weapon in someone's hands. Already. I tried thinking elsewhere, otherwhere, any place. Can not today. Think of huge clips of ammo I don't know the words for, the reason of brain fold, where a video game, glory groove dreams real, is on its way to. The day of reckoning, rack, the radication nation. Assault is the opposite of salt, wit, zest, keep. Weapon and assault sound ludicrously clean in words. Some deeds bleed the words from our mouths. Someone's scarred shuck of a boy stuck in the bloody comeuppance he holds in his hands. Okay. This is called Women for the World. It's not on the page I wrote down. There it is. And I'm going to read it for Abe Brock. Women for the World. She draws crowds or fire. An oak, she towers. She forewarns, she floors, she's sieve, she's oars, all whirl and brimming, living for the world. She's 13, first in her family to say AIDS out loud. She's mopping nuclear meltdown at 69. She sunscreens orphaned elephants' ears, knows mother is shade. Thick-armed or reedy, she splits atoms, invents windshield wipers, white out. She labors in the bush, the hut, the tub, the ward. She delivers, exponentially. She sisters. She gives us hospice, Kevlar, the Mars rover, the bra. Carriers of water, keepers of memories or bees. At 10, circumcised, about to be wed, she spills hot tea in his lap, grows up to write her memoir from jail with eyeliner on TP. She will not be forbidden the world. Game changers, gene mappers, those who build bridges, who are bridges, who get the story told. Sharp or honey-tongued, she legals, loyals, triages, stops the superhighway. She sings herself and everyone, flecked with paint or pain, knee-deep in the way out or the way in. She drives. We women, elected, reflecting, dissecting, refracting, ignition for the world. Let's see. Okay. You know what you want and how old your eggs are. So you go to him, the one who loves you more than the one you love more, the one who wants you wet or dry and not just Tuesdays, wants you with every bit of his heart but for the purplish corner that says his must be the design and one with no baby in it. Tell him no fluff, no bluff. Bring Picasso into the room. Tell this man his roar can be broken down into sex and lullaby. Put a flat warm stone in his palm, close his fingers around it. Stand toe to toe and wash his body with your eyes. Then make of them a big enough cradle. Ask, are we over or have we begun? Most of the time when I try to write a poem from a dream, it turns out to be really boring poem. It never really works. This, maybe you think this is a boring poem, but this came from an actual dream, and I was surprised by, when I wrote it, I didn't know what, I was just writing it down, but the question at the end was a surprise to me. Why only once this dream? And it has a Heraclitus epigraph, even a soul submerged in sleep is hard at work. You're frozen at the back door, cow-belly planes swoop, roar, low sweep the field. Bomblets drop, plop, sending up splinters of things. A dull thud, and then a hissing in the stand of cherries, and you wonder why famously poisonous to cows rings in your ears just before the blast, its echo and after, dust breathing upward, but not one thing out of place. Your cell says you have a text tinkling on the table, silly. You follow thwack clatter to the window. A chopper hover lowers, the yard whipped, willow shredded. This strikes you as personal. You blunder out the front door, roll down the lawn, elbows to hips, arms cross-chested like on TV. Crash landing briars and blossoms. Your house is a ship at anchor. You don't know which is listing, and today there's someone ready to hack the rope. Your ivy-swamped stoop has black lace-up shoes on it. Beside the Christmas tree browning 6 months in its stand stands a man. Is that your phone in his hand? He surveys you, not bothering to show his gun. 9 years later, and still you worry. Have you done enough to be the enemy? So I'm going to read 3 more poems, and thank you for your attention, and welcome. This is called No Ode, and it's the first and last poem, most likely, that I will ever write in a dentist chair. But I actually did sort of write it while I was in dentist. No ode, to greed or even need, wish neither on no one. I'm in the dentist chair, numb to aching, wanting it over, thinking about want. I want, I'll say it, a certain kind, not certain fame. I want not ease, not in work, but from worry, that means money. I want never to be X'd or Y'd. I want more old beautiful stuff and my house cleaned, and to see at least one wild creature per day, and to stop spilling my wine. I want. Whiter teeth and a waist again. I want a certain boy from 1967 to think of me and be stirred. Want, won't. Definitely don't want this relentless spray up my nose. Crook in my neck. Nothing numeric or generic. Nothing more from Della than what she is. Not to be found wanting or need to be right. I want transportation via time, place, taste, to be an ear, give a hand. Grant me modest wishes, occasional lightning. To see in the four-handed dance between drill and suction beauty. To want nothing more from the stars than to stand under them. Kids know. Kids know sleep doesn't exist until it takes them and they can be taken. Kids own the questions, like to be the wind. The moon last night only seemed to be skating the clouds. Sometimes the truth reverses the magic trick. Where does a kid's first lie come from? How did mine know to throw a blanket over her head when she had hard things to say? I say underestimation is an adult thing. Scientist asks Bonobo, you ready to play? Bonobo, past, ready. Kids know how hide and seek bores us and how we hide, divert. Songbirds eavesdrop to survive, I told her. Why don't I remember if she was surprised? All we know or think we know, a cleaver we hold over their sweet-smelling heads. When my parents matter-of-factly warned that a boy and girl left alone in a room will have sex, I couldn't decide, preposterous or the best news yet. But I knew if the Russians pushed the button, I'd find John Bakey and do whatever the it of sex was. Maybe it was like being a pair of whirling pinwheels. Maybe it was like having church inside you. Kids' secret-keeping talents spring from what, and in proportion to who? Their eyes are mirrors, which is why we put them to bed early. That and exhaustion. Little badgers. Roustabouts who are not bored until they've learned to be. Beginners' minds with benefits. Being is not a choice. Kids know they are animals. Weather. And the last one is another little ode. So I'm speaking to awe. It's called Ode to Awe. I was going to say outsized excitement, but outside says it better. Pond of stars framed by a circle of high boughs, the sound of ice calving, even the rumbling volcano that stayed shrouded are 2 whole days. A Russian fox, trusting humans to remove a jar from her head. Tree shapes pleading or thrusting, it doesn't take a sequoia to stop me. I disagree with the dictionary. It's not fear, but a brief release from it. Inhuman, bison, big water, light arriving. If I ever see God, it'll be out of doors. I turn the mat around to say welcome as I leave. Thank you. Thank you, Malvern.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Thank you, Abe. It was everything I expected and wonderful. And thank everybody for coming. Eat my snacks so I don't have to. Thank you.